Well, my name is Quinton and I am 30 years old, born on October 14th, 1984, so I just had a birthday. Other than that, I am a first-year grad student at Illinois State University in the Department of Communication. I do identify as a gay man of color, and what that means pretty much is black, but I also am also Native American, and a lot of people don't know that. So that's why I say gay man of color. I do identify myself as being gender fluid, which means I actually don't tend to constrain myself in the gender binaries of the masculine role as being a male body. So I tend to perform masculine, feminine. I incorporate both of those, and it's just been become a part of my identity since. So,
how has that shaped you being 30?
A lot, I think I came from a family that didn't really have much, and so I realized at that moment that I didn't want to give up. So I'm like, as old as I get, I'm gonna still keep moving on and do it, regardless how old I am. I feel like there's just never too late to do it and to accomplish anything, so I'm sticking with it.
So are you doing right now what you thought you'd be doing at this age?
I actually did not know, absolutely not. Actually, years ago, my goodness, I can try to go down the line here of how many majors I've switched from. I actually was a dance major, then I was a psychology major, and then I was a political science major, and then I went back to psychology, and then after that I went into fashion. And I was like, this is where my heart is, this is what I always want to do. And I think because I come from a very conservative family, they want you to have that typical traditional profession. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, no, I'm gonna stick with it. So I was like the black sheep for a while, and then finally I just went into fashion. So I was in fashion for a while, and then I was like, well, you know what, I really like communication. And I tried to incorporate both of those aspects, I guess, into what I like. So right now, I didn't think I would be in communication full time. I thought I'd be doing a little bit of fashion, but I was in fashion. So, yeah.
Cool. So how did you end up here in Normal?
Interesting. So pretty much, like I said, I was born in Peoria, which is about maybe 45 minutes away. But I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so what's interesting is when I came back, I didn't know what to do because, you coming from a very big urban, big city versus to a very small rural area. It was just, I don't know. It just happened. My grandmother actually wasn't feeling good, and so my mom wanted to kind of come back, and so a lot of what I was doing in Philly and then coming over here to Illinois kind of I'm trying to think. It kind of basically put me in a very different place of creativity. So when I came back, it was just kind of like, all right, let's see what makes of it. So I went to Chicago, met some folks. Now I'm here in communication, didn't think so. So I think it's great. I think it'll definitely be a good degree to apply to fashion if so I go back.
So where do you see yourself heading next?
Honestly, I actually want to go back into fashion a little bit. And actually at the moment I'm looking at creating my own magazine, which is a gay men of color magazine, a gay people of color magazine actually, where gay people of color tend to actually have a space to voice their concerns and issues with being in the community and also being oppressed. And not, because it tends to, there's this friction and there's this confrontation of gay people of color and those that identify as white or look white in relationships to communicating within an actual marginalized community. So it's like being a minority within a minority group. And so what I'm looking to do is to provide a space for gay people of color to actually voice and have a voice.
So where do you see yourself doing that?
I'm trying to start it now. Well, it's my first year grad. I'm a first year grad student. I want to start it now. I think it's better now than never. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about it. I think being identifying as a gay man of color for 30 years, I've just experienced a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of different gay people of color. I'm a part of the first gay the first gay fraternity, a gay man of color fraternity, Delta Phi Upsilon, and we talk about these things a lot. And it's like, I got to meet my frat brothers and my line brothers, and we just hang out and we talk about so many great issues. And we're all about community service and really giving back to the community. And I just, I hear their stories and how their identities are shaped as being gay men of color. And I'm like, that's interesting. I never would have thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of sparked a lot more for me to move on to do it.
Yeah.
Make a difference. I think when I was growing up, I felt like there was just one way of being black, right? It's like, okay, this is how I should be. Like, there's just, it's hard to describe. It's like, okay, I'm black, but then I feel like there's this other identity where it's like, yes, I'm black, but I'm a black gay male, and I think that's a whole different type of identity that hasn't really been researched. And I think it shaped my identity to see that not every gay man of color is going to be the same. And it shaped me in a way of being comfortable in my skin, me being comfortable with my identity, and me being comfortable being black, right? And gay. And it shaped me to be comfortable. It's like I'm living in my own truth. I was able to find my identity by talking to other different type of gay men.
That you don't really abide by the gender binary.
No.
Fill me in on that.
Yeah. Where do I even start? Honestly, I was a crazy kid. Let's just start there. I come from a very conservative background, which my family tends to be Christian, identify as Christian. And I knew at probably about between 12 to 14, I want to say around there, I knew I wanted to go outside the box, but I didn't know how to do it. So I would cut up clothes, dye my clothes. I would wear really tight clothing, and I really was fascinated by women's apparel. And I didn't do it a lot. My mom shamed me a lot, and I don't think she did it on purpose. I just think that she did it because she was just concerned for my safety. But years went on, and I started purchasing certain specific type of clothes that women have, like their trousers, certain shirts, blazers, and then I'll incorporate it with something that's masculine, and I just started to form my own identity through that. So I just identify as being gender fluid, where I feel like men need to be comfortable being who they are instead of going with the actual stereotypical gender role, which is I got to be masculine and these are the clothes I really have to wear. But I'm like, I want to wear what the fuck I want to wear, and I'm comfortable with that. I tend to get stares and looks or snickers and things, but I think I've become so comfortable in my skin and my identity that it doesn't bother me anymore. And I know people tend to be a little bit scared when it comes to safety, because being a part of the LGBTQ, I think a big thing is want to be in a safe space. And I'm like, well, I'm an activist first, and then I'm an academic. I always identify myself with that. So I think all of that just kind of helps and shapes me into being comfortable with performing my gender.
You ever been unsafe?
In an unsafe space in particular? I think so. And it's interesting because there's actually one particular space I will probably not, I would say, go to the extreme of performing a very feminine role, is actually the barbershop. The barbershop makes me uncomfortable. Every time I go into the barbershop, it makes me feel like I have to perform masculinity. But now what's interesting, this is the first time ever by being here, being 30, where I'm like, I'm gonna wear Ugg boots. I'm gonna wear a little bit of this. I'm gonna show them that they know he's different, and they probably have already labeled me as he's probably gay, but I'm opening up. It's like a slow process of revealing that gender identity. But I was very uncomfortable in black barbershops. And now I'm still uncomfortable to an extent because there's a very hyper masculine man, and there's also a black masculinity that goes along with that too. And so for me, it's like, well, you know, are they gonna like make me wait? Am I gonna be the last person that's gonna get my hair cut? Even though I came and did what I was supposed to do, and that tends to happen a few times too. It's happened a few times where because I have been visually seen as probably gay or someone that's not performing masculinity through my apparel, that sometimes they may not. There's been people that didn't want to cut my hair. I think that the longest I've sat is probably an hour or 2 hours, and I've been there before a lot of people that didn't have appointments just because of how I was looked. So it makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm still trying to navigate that space.
What would you want whoever saw you on my blog site or in the video to know about you, words that you live by? What would you want to make sure got out there if they could only see you in that moment of time? What would you want to make sure that I said? And it could be about you, words that you live by. It could be about anything. But what would you want to make sure that this was said?
Wow, that's such a good question. I will have to use a quote that I really like from someone, if that's okay. And it might not be exactly the same wording, but if someone is not there through your struggle, they should not be there through your success.